It's MED Monday. Today, become a better pre-flop open raiser. Everybody studies on Monday! So welcome to the 26th Minimum Effective Dose Monday episode. So, as you know, last week's episode number 198, I started a brand new leak on straying outside of pre-flop 2-bet ranges, right? So I did a little bit of Google searching here, and I came across an article that was written back in January of 2015, so a few years. But the information in this article is still totally valid for today's poker, for online poker games and live poker games as well, I would say. The article was called What to Open Raise Pre-Flop, and it was on redchippoker.com, and it was written by Hunter Sitchy. Now, this article just dovetails perfectly with the current leak plugging episodes we've got last week's and this week's episode number 199, where I tell you how to plug this leak that I'm discussing. So I think this article just fits nicely, so we're going to cover it today, or I'm going to read it today. Now, the article itself, it starts off, he gives some really good guidelines. Hunter does. He gives really good guidelines on what you should be thinking about with your open raising ranges pre-flop, right? So I'm going to read that part of the article for you. The rest of the article, he gives ranges for under the gun +1, +2, MP cutoff, all that jazz. He gives you pre-flop open raising ranges. Well, I'm not going to go into each of those. You can find this article by just Google searching what to open raise pre-flop. Or, of course, go to the show notes page for this episode, smartpokerstudy.com/MED Monday. It's episode 26. The link is right up there. Click on it. It'll take you to the page, and then you can work out or, copy and utilize those ranges for yourself. I just don't want to, via podcast tell you, under the gun is an 8% range containing pocket pairs, aces through eights, and blah, 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 yada, yada. That just gets pretty boring in an audio form. So check it out for yourself. But like I said, I'm going to read that initial part to you, all the guidelines for pre-flop raising. And afterwards, I'm going to give you my minimum effective dose idea. Now, that's the critical concept to take away and apply to your poker game and to your studies. The second thing I'll give you is the minimum effective dose action. That's the one thing that you can do this week to boost your poker to the next level. Okay, let's get to it. Some words of wisdom from Hunter Sitchy. Gambate!
I presume a crisp high five?
For you, 10. Okay, guys, let's get out there and make a difference. You know what to do.
What to open raise pre-flop? 95% of the students that come to me are above average post-flop players at the stakes they're playing. Yet, they still struggle to increase their win rates and, or possibly move up in stakes. It's simply because they have major pre-flop leaks that can be easily corrected with an hour of coaching with me and a change in mindset at the table. Still, many players continue to stubbornly use their inadequate pre-flop strategies that lead to structural imbalances in their ranges post-flop, and consequently, they're open to being easily exploited. So today, I'd like to give you some simple guidelines to improve your pre-flop cash game strategy. Allow me to start from the beginning. Here are some general guidelines. Number 1. Since the blinds are your only monetary incentive to play hands, your primary pre-flop goal is to steal the blinds. Players may try to impede your progress by calling or raising. Think of them as implications in a potential secondary mission. Just remember that your primary goal is to steal the blinds. General guideline number 2. If it's profitable to limp with a hand pre-flop, it's generally more profitable to raise in order to put pressure on the blinds. Think of pre-flop poker as a pie chart. If you limp on the button with Jack 10 suited, and the big blind gets to see the flop for free with Ace Deuce offsuit, he will win the pot roughly 51% of the time. The amount of the time that he will win the pot is called his equity. If you force him to fold pre-flop, you effectively force him to surrender his equity and allow you to win all of the pie chart, or, in this case, the pot. General guideline number 3. To prevent astute opponents from gaining information about the strength of your hole cards, you should generally open to the same size. If you're playing against players that call too much and don't pay attention to your raise sizes, you should raise as big as you can with your value hands. If you're playing against players that fold too much and don't pay attention to your raise sizes, you should min raise with all of your weaker hands. General guideline number 4. To get the most folds for the least amount of money, you should generally raise to 3 times the big blind. Game dynamics changes the fold equity relative to the ratio of big blinds risked. Many times, people won't even consider folding unless you raise to 4 big blinds. Other times, a min raise can be most effective. And general guideline number 5. If people limp in front of you, it will take a bigger raise size to get them to fold, so you should generally isolate to a size that is 3 big blinds plus 1 big blind per limper. Again, the sizing changes based on game dynamics. The theory remains the same though. Raise to a size where you are getting the most folds for your money. Don't get frustrated if people call. I will teach you how to beat them post-flop. Just remember that you either want to buy your opponent's equity or increase the size of the pot with the best hand. So now that we've established these general guidelines, basically that you should raise instead of limping pre-flop, naturally, you'd like to know which hands you should raise. As I said earlier, your hand selection will be heavily influenced by your position. Your position determines how much information you will have during the hand. When you are under the gun, you have to act before seeing what everyone else does. This is a huge disadvantage if your goal is to steal the blinds. As a result, you must play much more conservatively from early position. It's impossible to say exactly how many hands you should play from each position, because the percentage changes based on the type of game you're in. Remember that there can be up to 9 other players that have a say in what happens after you raise. Conversely, if it folds around to you on the button, you have a huge advantage because you know that there are only 2 players left to prevent you from stealing the blinds. You can raise many more hands, especially if you know how the blinds will react to your raises. So, how do we choose a default range of hands to play from each position? A default range is what we will use without information on our opponents. Let me save you a lot of time and give you some ranges of hands that have proven to be profitable for me over a large sample size. I didn't create these ranges. Database analysis experts have analyzed millions of hands played by solid professionals and determined which ones have a long-term positive expectation. The following default ranges are how I interpret their research. Don't get caught up in trying to find exact preflop ranges. There are a lot of hands that will only be slightly profitable on the fringes of a range. 80% of your profits will come from 20% of the hands you play. As a result, you should never be afraid to return to a tighter range if my suggestions are putting you in post-flop situations that are making you uncomfortable. As you improve post-flop, your pre-flop options will increase. Moreover, solid pre-flop decisions lead to better post-flop decisions. Keep in mind that this article is like a pre-flop playbook. Each individual hand is a player, and your team of hands is a range. Each hand plays a role in getting your opponent to react differently to your range.
Wow, beautiful, right off the bat. He delivers on the goods. Look at him pump up this crowd.
This man's going to win a lot of political offices when his career's over.
A great role model for America's kids.
Now that was a great article. Hunter hit the nail on the head with the fact that your preflop raises basically are your attempt to steal the blinds. And when your opponents kind of challenge you with calls or with re-raises, that's when your secondary mission comes into play. And that's basically making the most money from them if you're, going for value, or saving the most money possible by folding, maybe calling, seeing the flop, and assessing the flop, And those 5 general guidelines just, I guess the 5 guidelines in general are just perfect ways to think about your pre-flop ranges and how you employ your raising, and hopefully you're not doing any kind of limping pre-flop. I really like how he explained that your raise, if they fold that ace-deuce offsuit, you're taking away any equity they have in the hand and just stealing that pot right then and there. They can't realize their equity. You're effectively just putting 1 or a half a big blind directly from their stack into yours. I love that. Alrighty, so here is the MED idea from this article. The blinds are your only monetary incentive to enter a pre-flop pot with the raise. And here's the MED action. Now, this is going to take you a little bit of work, but here it is. Look at the profitability for every specific hand in your database over the past 50,000 hands or more, and compare these to your ranges. Do this for each non-blind position that you have a range for, so under the gun through the button. The reason for looking at non-blind profitability is because you want to see how profitable you are in spots where if you fold, you lose $0. You can do this separately for the blinds later if you'd like. Now, I'll explain how to do this with Poker Tracker 4, but please go to the show notes, smartpokerstudy.com/medmonday, and find the episode number 26. If you're listening to this after it's released, of course, the episode's at the top. Now, there's a screenshot there to help you do this within your Poker Tracker 4 database. What you're going to do is group the hands by starting hands hold'em, and then you're going to run the filter for each of your open raising range positions. By doing this, you'll see every hand dealt to you in each position one at a time and how profitable each hand has been. Now, whip out your ranges and look at the profitability of the weakest hands. Let's say in your early position range, maybe pocket deuces is the worst pocket pair, ace-jack suited and ace-jack offsuit are the worst aces, and king-queen suited along with king-queen offsuit are the worst kings. Now, ask yourself this question. How profitable have each of these hands been for me in the early position, and should I consider ditching any of them? Now, let's say that pocket deuces, maybe it's a losing hand for you, and so is pocket threes and pocket fours. Remember, this is in the EP. But when you look at pocket fives or greater, they all show at least a little bit of profit. Then, you might want to consider lopping off pocket deuces through fours, keeping that pocket fives or greater in your open raising range. Thank you so much for listening today, and of course a super big thanks to Hunter Sitchy and RedChipPoker.com for putting out such a great pre-flop open raising article. All that information at the beginning, it's perfect, it's still applicable to today's games, and then his ranges, they are on the tighter side, but that tight aggressive play is how you're going to make most of your money in the micro stakes and low stakes live games, of course. So please visit RedChipPoker.com for this and plenty of strategy articles and, of course, their podcast. Also, you can visit CheckShovePoker.com. That's Hunter Sitchy's own website. When you go there, you can sign up for his newsletter. I signed up for the newsletter, but I haven't received any updates yet. But I don't know. Hopefully he puts out updates occasionally, maybe sends out free content, free articles, free training videos. Not exactly sure what he gives, but I signed up, so anything in the future he sends out, I'm going to be getting. And please tell Hunter that I sent you his way via Twitter at Hunter Sitchy, and that's Cichy. You can listen to this and every other MED Monday episode by visiting smartpokerstudy.com/MED Monday. And please send me those questions, sky@smartpokerstudy.com. Of course, you can support the show at patreon.com/smartpokerstudy and subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and let me know about it so I can read it on air for you. Later this week in episode 199, I'm going to help you plug the leak of straying outside your pre-flop 2-bet ranges. And if you would like to receive my full KISS pre-flop open raising ranges and calling 2-bet, 3-bet, calling 3-bet ranges, all that stuff, all you've got to do is pick up Preflop Online Poker. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook on Amazon. Until next time, apply the MED idea to the rest of your game and practice the MED action all week long.